Welcome in, everyone, to the George Mason Men's Basketball Coaches Show with head coach Tony Skinn. I'm Bill Rowland, our initial coaches show of the 2024-25 season. We've got a good one for you today. Coach Skinn is with us. We'll also talk to women's head coach Vanessa Blair-Lewis coming up on the show as well. So, Coach, we might as well dive right into it. Here we are, year number 2. You hear George Mason, and I know over the summer, actually even go back to the spring, a lot of change. That's what college basketball is now. A lot of turnover. Guys decide to go play somewhere else. Guys decide to come in here to play. So tell me, how did you go about putting this roster together with all the turnover that happens in college basketball?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. For one, I got a pretty good chance to learn real quick how to do that when I got the job the original time,
Right.
the first time. We had 2 guys here, and I had to go get 11 new players. And so got to credit my staff. I mean, we're just so diligent through the course of the year. See, recruiting is not just when the season ends. People think it's when the season ends. It's not. It's 365, 24/7. And having a dynamic staff that's just well-connected all over the country, not just locally, it makes my job a little bit easier. As a coach, you're worried about winning games. And as soon as that last shot goes up and the season is over, you take a deep breath. And you think the season's over and your job's done, but then you wake up the next day and you realize now you're recruiting, now you're Zooming, now you're going on the road. And it's just, it's part of college basketball. It's nothing to really complain about because every program and every coach has to go through it.
How do you go about doing it, though? Is it players contacting you contacting them? Is there a big giant whiteboard with like 100 names and just erasing them off as they go somewhere else? How does it work?
It's a combination of all of that. I mean, you've been in my office, you see my whiteboard. Not my living room, but my basement is the same way. You would think that, I work for, the FBI if you saw my basement.
Just threads connecting everybody, right?
Connections all over the place. But no, it works. You have the portal, you have your database, but then a lot of times, especially locally in the DMV, we kind of know and hear who's transferring. We do a good job of, respecting wherever they are and just waiting until the season is over. But, for the most part, you're going to have your pick at who you want. That's the one thing I say about George Mason all the time. A lot of the DMV kids that do go play at a really, really high level, when it doesn't work out, a lot of times they want to come back home. Right. And when they come back home, if you're not, going to Georgetown or going to Maryland, George Mason is the next stop. And so for guys like Darius Maddox, guys like Woody Newton, coming back home and playing at a place that, they're able to still show what they wanted to show at their previous stop but couldn't. George Mason is, we've just been the benefit of some really good DMV, I guess you could say, love.
You talked about one of the core players that I wanted to get to, Darius Maddox, all-conference preseason selection. He was all-conference last year as well. And also Jared Billups, 2 pretty good building blocks to have coming back this year. Yeah,
no, those 2 guys are tremendous. Jared Billups is, as you guys know, as big of, as tough as it gets. And Darius Maddox, who was, picked this year, all conference. And so when you have a chance to get 2 guys like that back, it makes my job easier. Guys that are selfless, guys that understand what it requires to win 20 games. And at the end of the day, you got a guy that shoots 41% from the three-point line. If I can't figure out how to win a couple games, then I'm not a very good coach.
You talked about all the people that you brought in, which gives you more depth. All summer long, every interview that I've seen, talk about every article I've seen written about George Mason, you always point to the depth. How much is that going to play a role for your team this year? Does it change anything that you do this year?
Yeah, it changes a lot. It's actually been tough the last 10 to 12 days because as a staff, you're trying to figure out the rotations. You're trying to figure out, how to get guys in the game, how to try to, break down your rotations. But when you have a problem trying to figure that out, it's normally a good thing. This time last year, got to give credit to that team because they were able to put together 20 wins. We kind of knew who was going to play. We knew the 8 guys that were going to be in the rotation. But this year, it's not been the same. You're constantly trying to figure out who plays well together, who's able to play 25, 30 minutes, just learning different guys. And right now, I'd say we might be able to go 10, 11 deep. So we do have the depth this year.
Is it tough to get that many people the minutes that they maybe think they deserve?
Yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough. Realistically, especially once you get into December, you're playing 8. If you're lucky, you're playing 9 guys.
Right.
I don't think any coach in America wants to have to play 11, 12, or 13 guys because if you're doing so, your team's not very good. It worked for Kentucky when they had, 6 All-Americans and, first-round picks.
Right.
But we don't have that. And so trying to find that balance of getting guys in the game, it's been a good problem to have.
One of the guys, and he was on the post game with us after the Saturday exhibition, the freshman guard Justin Begg, and he played phenomenal in that game. And talking to him afterwards, I loved his enthusiasm about playing, and I loved his, I don't want to say arrogance, but just confidence. Like, he felt like he belonged. It is, again, only talking for a couple minutes. Is that the sense that you get from him too? That he feels like, even though he's a freshman, he knows he already belongs?
Yeah, he's Justin Begg is such a delight to coach, just because as you guys get to know him, he's always showing teeth because he's always smiling.
Right.
And when you have that type of coachability, when you love the game the way he does, that's one of the reasons why we recruited him. That's one of the reasons why he was for me. Once our former assistant, Coach Mike, brought him to the table, I kind of took the point in the recruitment because I thought so highly of him. I thought he was a really, really good kind of a guy that could play both positions.
Mm-hmm.
But he's shown his feel in being able to lead this team at such a young age. He's only 18 years old. And I was glad that he was able to get out there and kind of give us a spark and show what he can do. And so he'll have a chance.
You had a couple of days now to look at the film. I know you're a bit of a perfectionist at times or anything, but can you give me one or two things that you're like, we had to clean that up, and then maybe a couple that you're like, yeah, that was pretty good?
I don't mind being called a professional pessimist, not perfectionist. No, again, as a coach, you want things to be perfect. The game of basketball is not perfect. I think I was happy after the game, after I watched the film and kind of calmed down. I was able to just reflect and look at some of the things that we did do well. For one, we're healthy. That's important. And, when you're able to beat a team by, 25, 30 points, there's some good there, because you look across America, there's teams that are losing these exhibition games.
Right.
We are not in that department. We've got some things we've got to be able to clean up, but that's the good part of being in October. We've now got a week to prepare. And we actually responded today at practice. So I was happy. As upset as I was on Sunday, I was pretty happy today.
Home opener's coming up on November 4th. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. I want to remind everybody, all the basketball fans out there, be sure to join us inside Eagle Bank Arena all season long. All ticket options, including single-game tickets, are on sale now. Take advantage of savings on ticket prices by getting a 3- or 5-game mini plan, or even better, season tickets start at just $99. The best deal in the DMV. Visit the ticket section on GoMason.com or call the ticket office at 703-993-3270. Coach, you're off the hot seat for right now. We'll bring you back, and I want to find out how you got this Duke game put together.
Okay.
I think that's an interesting story. We'll do that. Up next, though, head coach of the women's team, Vanessa Blair-Lewis, will join us. Welcome back to the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show. I'm Bill Rowland, and joining me right now, the head coach of the women's basketball team, Vanessa Blair-Lewis. Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
Your team is coming off a tremendous season, more than 20-plus wins, postseason bid, always good things. But as we turn the page, that means the expectations are higher. Your team was picked third in the preseason poll, one of the highest, if not the highest, that's been picked at least in the A-10, and probably going back to the old CAA days as well. So expectations higher. How do you handle that as a staff, as the players? You're not sneaking up on anybody this year.
No. I told the girls bullseye is definitely on our back. Last year we were able to go into a lot of people's homes and destroy their confidence. They didn't expect us. We were preseason picked like 8th or 9th, and I truly like it that way. I wish they would have picked us 14th this year. Because then I think part of that is the young ladies don't really understand that now you're the one that's being hunted. You go from hunting to being the hunted. And we've had a couple of preseason scrimmage games like, Coach Skinn has had. And, I just think that they're kind of shocked that people are coming in like with all the guns blazing. I'm like, they're not waiting around to see what you're going to do. Like, we had the 3rd highest bench production in the country last year. Behind South Carolina at one point, we were number 2. So we're not surprising anyone. But I think that they're up for that. I think they had a really sour taste of how the season ended last year, and are looking forward to finishing strong this year.
When you look at the team that you have, 4 different players made the preseason All A-10 team, 1 second-teamer, 3 third-teamers. We'll talk about them in a second. But to me, in watching your team kind of the last couple of years develop their personality, your senior Paula Suarez, to me, is kind of the linchpin of everything. At 6 foot, she is a tough guard when she runs the point, even when you put her off the ball. So while she may not have got the love from the media and the other coaches, I imagine inside your program, you guys are like, Paul's a pretty big deal for us.
Yeah, and I think she took that personally. She's like, what? So I just told her, like, this is your time now. Like, go out and show them. But if we're not successful without Paula, and everybody knows she's the glue to our team. She's the tallest point guard. She's probably the third tallest player on our team at point. And we're excited that we have her, whether anybody recognizes her or not. But she is a big part of what we do, and I think she has a chip on her shoulder being at her last year.
You bring two of those A-10 players come back as sophomores, and they were kind of, until Kennedy got injured near the end of the year, they're kind of battling back and forth. One week it would be Sahira that was the Rookie of the Week. The next week it would be Kennedy. Nice to have both of them back to, again, with those Paula and the 4 preseason A-10 players, you could win a lot of games with just those 5. Forget the depth that you have behind them.
Absolutely, but thank goodness we do have the depth.
Right.
But it's really good to see Kennedy back on the floor after such a, tough fall that, we were glad that she was able to get back up and get to her feet and get to this point. But returning the Rookie of the Year and Zaza Walton is really special for this program, especially with her being young. We have years to continue to watch this group grow. And then having Nalani Kasia, who was an all-conference selection when she left, to come back. And I'll tell you, Bill, she's right back where she left off.
But you guys definitely got the depth, too. We talked to Coach Skinn about the depth of his team. You guys, for sure, can probably go 8, 9, 10 deep as well.
Absolutely. This year, I'm really excited about the post presence that we have. Last year, with Nalani not playing and Jasmine having to step up and, do everything, which that really wasn't her role to score in the years that she's been here. But now we have at least 3 or 4 centers at that position, and one that I think the crowd will really enjoy, having Josh Odora's younger sister, Sarah, in the green and gold.
Absolutely. I don't want to jump over what should be an exciting season in 24-25, but you guys are already looking to the future. You've got a trip overseas planned. Talk to me about this trip to Spain that you guys are talking about, and I need to be able to go on this trip.
Yeah. Donors, boosters, everyone, just come. This is exciting. When we talk about believing big for our program, it's not just in the States. Like, we want to give our young ladies a cultural exchange, as well as being able to play international games overseas, team bonding, a lifetime of memories, and as we organize and align this trip, we're asking for support to help make this a dream reality for these young ladies, to send them to Spain. And so you have QR codes if you're in the house on your tables, but go to the Mason webpage, women's basketball. You can find information there. You can find information Twitter, Instagram, and with Katie Pate, our Senior Athletic Director of Development. If you find her, she'll know all about it. But let's make this dream a reality for these young women, to have a lifetime of memories that they'll never forget.
It'd be a tremendous trip, so we ask everybody, please support so we can get the team over there to Spain. It'll be amazing. All right, opening up, we'll go back now to the season. Opening up November 4th, 2 o'clock, Eagle Bank Arena, Johnson C. Smith. Interesting story on how they came to be your opponent to start out.
Absolutely. The coach is my former player from Bethune-Cookman. So for her to be in her second year as head coach, we were excited to get her on the schedule to come up, and I didn't teach her everything. So we should be able to, win that game with what we have, but I think it'll be a really good kickoff and a doubleheader in Eagle Bank with us and Tony Skinn following us. It'll be a good start to the season.
It's always interesting. A lot of times coaches don't want to, coach against a former player or a former assistant, but it's a nice gesture.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. She calls me almost every day for information, and I give her like tidbits, but nothing that's going to beat us. But no, it's exciting when you can give back, especially the young women. They're going to be the women that are going to continue to grow the game. And as you know, the game is growing leaps and bounds.
It's
so
unbelievable.
We're excited. We just think the fan engagement is going to be phenomenal this year.
And you've got other big names on your schedule as well. ACC's Wake Forest. You've got Maryland out of the Big Ten. You've got Georgetown across the road out of the Big East. It's a pretty solid schedule before you get to what should be a really tough A-10 this year.
Oh, it's going to be a tough A-10 schedule. I just think any given night, it'll be anybody's game. We got to come to play. But I think what gets us ready for that are the teams that are going to make it difficult for us, to show us who we are. But for us to go into those houses and not feel any type of fear, I think these ladies stand poised and ready to knock some of them off.
All right, most important question, I think, Halloween. What are the kids doing?
Oh, man, they're ninjas. They're ninjas. They've been kicking and slicing all week. They said I got to dress up as a ninja. I'm like, I'm just a coach. I'll go with you. But I know what you're going to ask me.
Okay.
Full-size candy
Full-size
bars
or minis? I mean, that's
minis.
important.
No one comes to our house. No one comes to our house. Like, I know we don't have street lights, but maybe that's why. But there's a
It's
bowl
easy
out.
for them to hide in the dark if they're
And
ninjas.
there's a bowl out. You can just take the whole bowl. No one sees you. But yeah, but there won't be full size. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm not going to waste it, and I'm not going to
No,
eat
I
it.
don't.
So
I don't blame you. You don't want that laying around.
No.
Trust me, I get it. I get it. Well, it should be another exciting season for George Mason women's basketball. Single game tickets and season tickets are both on sale now. Make sure not to miss any of the action this season. Visit the ticket section on GoMason.com or call the ticket office at 703-993-3270. Vanessa, thank you. Good luck. We'll see you at Eagle Bank on Monday.
thank you. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Welcome back to the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show with head coach Tony Skinn. I'm Bill Rowland, finishing out our first episode of the season. Want to remind everybody for the home opener coming up, if you are coming out, kids under 12 will get in free with each adult ticket purchased. You can get one of your 12 and under kids free for every adult ticket purchase. So come on out, see Coach Skinn, see Coach Vanessa Blair-Lewis's team. Should be a great time again Monday, November 4th. Let's start with that, Tony. North Carolina Central in town, obviously well-respected coach, Lavelle Moten as the head man. They won 18 games last season. They are always tough in the MEAC.
Yeah, no, Lavelle's made a name for himself because of the way he coaches, the type of players that he recruits. They play hard as hell. I haven't had a chance to really just watch them yet, but I'm excited. I think he's got a team that, you know, every couple of years, North Carolina Central ends up in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
So we've got to get ourselves together for Monday for sure.
All right, without getting into X's and O's, I'm not going to ask you about their personnel, everything else, because we're not looking ahead down the road, not overlooking anybody. I do want to find out how you put together the games with both Marquette and also Duke, because I imagine you're not picking up the phone and calling Coach Shire and being like, hey, we're going to come to Durham. You got an open date in December? What's going on? How do you put games like that together?
Yeah, we're always on the phone trying to call everybody in America to get a game. The problem is they don't answer those phone calls.
Right.
That's just the tough part about scheduling at this level. The A-10, we sit right in that middle where nobody wants to play us. They'll recruit our players out of the portal, but they won't play us.
Right.
And so when I got the call from Mike, who's on that Duke staff, I was excited. We had to get through some hurdles. Shout out to our athletic department, our admin, Marvin Lewis and Nina Rogers for working with us, because it is during the week of finals, something that's not conventional in scheduling. And so I was able to get them to say yes. And obviously I had to look at our team and our roster and make sure that we were competitive enough to go into probably one of the toughest places in the country. Cameron Indoor, as you saw, they just beat Arizona State by, I believe, 60, 70 points.
Right.
And so I'm happy that we got that game. I think it's going to give us a chance to kind of see who we really are as we transition into conference play in late December.
Is it tough when you do those scheduling type of things? Because I know a lot of times, even back when you guys, when you're playing with Coach Ellen, were really good, Final Four and even prior to that, to get those big teams to come here, even if you do a 2-for-1, 1-for-1, what's your philosophy of that? Would you do a 2-for-1 with a Power 5 if you had to go there twice just to get them here at Eagle Bank?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah, I wish it was that easy.
Is that because you won't do the 2-for-1 or because you don't think they would do it?
I don't think they would do it.
Okay, that was the question.
Yeah. I've got relationships locally with Maryland, Georgetown. We can't get the game. So if anybody's out there watching, I'd love another rendition of maybe the BB&T Classic,
right,
which forces those guys to play us. But scheduling is really, really tough. Even just using the James Madison game for an example, a game that, for me as a player and my teammates, that was a big-time game. There's a rivalry there, and initially we wanted the game. James Madison didn't want to give us the game. But again, scheduling is complicated, and once it got a little tough for them, they had to play us. And so I'm excited about that game. And obviously Marquette, that's a part of our MTE with Stony Brook in Central Michigan. Shout out to Shaka Smart. When you pick basically at that level, you get a chance to kind of pick who you want to play if you're hosting an MTE. And for him to say George Mason is a team that we want to play, again, that's something that you don't see. And so I credit him for allowing us to be able to participate in that game that's literally right around the corner. So I'm excited.
Chris Fleming, one of your old teammates, is going to do some of the broadcasts with me this year. Will Thomas is also going to be doing a couple of broadcasts. We know Lamar Butler's on your staff. It's got to be fun to have all these guys coming around. I know Chris walked into your office like you've been doing this for years the other day before the game, just kind of sat down and wanted to chat with you. It's kind of neat to have all those guys back around, right?
It's pretty cool. And every time somebody comes to come check us out in practice and come talk to me, I'm reminded how I was on the other side of that seat and Coach L was in my seat. And so it's still a little bit surreal. But I had a chance to talk to Chris. We all have we're all on the group chat still together, and so we communicate. And so even though I don't see those guys all the time, we still communicate on our group chat. So it was good to see him. And I actually obviously watched the game yesterday. He did pretty well for his first one.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was pretty good.
Did.
All right, make the pitch. We got about a minute left here. The fans watching this here, fans that'll be watching this later on when it's put out, Monday, November 4th, the home opener, 7 o'clock. Why should they come out and watch this team this year?
Because this team is as competitive as I've ever seen as a coach. I think we have a chance to do something really, really special. We can't do that without you guys. I continue to say it. Patriot Pressure is not just the way we play and compete, but it's really the support system in EBA. And we've got 18 home games this year. I expect us to win all 18, but we can't do that without you guys, and it starts November 4th. So let's go.
There you go. Green Machine, students, these fans, everybody out there. Hopefully everybody will be coming out 7 o'clock, November 4th at Eagle Bank Arena for the home opener. And if you need a little bit more Mutts Gone Nuts at halftime, who doesn't like a good dog show, right, Coach?
I guess I don't have a dog, so.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks again to Vanessa Blair Lewis for joining us as well. For head coach Tony Skinn, I'm Bill Rowland. We'll see you at Eagle Bank Arena.